My vintage Christmas decorations are some of my favorite decorations. I love vintage Christmas because it reminds me so much of my childhood and my mom. A lot of the decorations that I like to decorate with are from before I was born, but they're definitely things that my mom could have had. She passed away when I was 19. And I am fortunate to have some of the things that she actually did have. She saved them, and I was able to get them when she passed. But the other items that I've picked up since that time, and things that I get when I go out thrifting, I like to get them because they're things that she could have seen in the store, or things that she might have had that I didn't know about, or things that her friends might have had that she saw. It's not that that's the only reason I collect vintage Christmas, because a flocked Santa is cute by its own right, but it does have a very special meaning to me. So in this video, it's the first of my home tour videos. I will be doing a full home tour, but in today's video, I just wanted to highlight these very special vintage Christmas decorations. I've put them mostly in my living room, and also some down in my bedroom, and those are the areas that I will show you today. This video is part of a collaboration hosted by Robin Johnson. I will link her channel and a playlist in my description box below. So let's go ahead and see all the special treasures that I have from my own mom, from other people's childhoods who've sent them to me, and things that I have found in my treasure hunting. Here we go. In my living room to the right of the desk, I have this IKEA bookshelf which I painted earlier in the year. I've placed on it most of my vintage Santa collection. Vintage Santas are my absolute #1 favorite thing to find. I love them so much. There are such different personalities in each one, and they scream vintage Christmas to me. Here on the top shelf, I've placed 2 tabletop blow molds that I got from a friend. Her mother-in-law was clearing out, and I think they look great lit up on the top shelf here. But not better than King Santa, who apparently could also be a bank. Above this shelf, I'm hoping to make a vintage-inspired looking wreath with Christmas balls from the Dollar Tree, and I'll show you that in my full home tour. Here on the next shelf, I have a Santa with only one leg, so I've given him a Christmas tree and placed him in a cheese box to disguise it. And then I have my little ho ho ho, which I found at a thrift store recently, and 2 Santas who look like they might have had a little too much to drink. I have a Harold Gale Santa. I didn't know that's what he was until one of my subscribers told me recently in a video. And I've placed them all around a vintage tacky Christmas tree, which I absolutely adore. My plush Santa and that popcorn Santa window decoration also came from the same house as the blow molds. They are new acquisitions and I love them. And this vintage chipboard truck was from my friend Tammy. Her family used to place the Christmas cards they received in it. And I've placed in front of that one of my little vintage block creations. On the next shelf, I have another cheese box, and I've filled it with some of my favorite things, which include vintage cupcake toppers, as well as little food picks. I don't know why, but I love these things so much. I have my little fireworks Santa, which was given to me by a friend, and this little elf was sent to me from a subscriber all the way from Sweden. On the next shelf, I have another one of my vintage block creations, and I've placed that in front of my casserole holder. I love to switch out the books that are in this holder for each season. It's one of my favorite decor elements in this room. Here on the left, another vintage Santa is getting a wagon ride, and then I have a little elf put into a vintage Christmas box. And on the last shelf of this display, I've placed the box to one of my cellophane wreaths, which you'll see in a minute, as the background. And then I've put some more vintage Santa items. I also placed a flower frog with a little Jingle Bells card and one of my little miniature honeycomb Santas. And here on the side of the bookshelf, I have hung the 2 cellophane wreaths that I picked up at a yard sale last year. The bottom one does light up, but the cord makes me a bit nervous, so I don't light them, but I do love the way they look hanging here. They were intended originally for windows and are probably from the 50s. If you're enjoying this tour, please hit that subscribe button. It's the little red button, and hit the bell so you'll be notified when I upload videos. It helps me out a great deal if you subscribe to my channel. I do a lot of thrifting content and vintage content. Those are some of my favorite things. I haven't finished decorating for Christmas, and there are some things I'm still working on, one of which is getting my blow molds lit up. I got both of these blow molds at the Goodwill outlet bins for under $1 a piece. And here on the first shelf of this little bookshelf, I have placed my candle huggers and my vintage angels. I originally had my candle huggers on these candles, but the candles don't seem to stay in the candle holder very well, and so the candle huggers kept falling, which made me nervous, so I decided to just put them on top of little vintage ribbon spools instead. I love my little angels collection, and I think they look beautiful paired with my uranium glass. And then I've filled everything with red Christmas balls. Here on the second shelf, on another piece of uranium glass, I have my little elf band. I think it's super cute. Some of these are built on pine cones. I believe these are also from the 50s. And here's my mother's music box. This is from the 40s. It has celluloid angels in it. It doesn't work currently, but I'm planning to look into getting it fixed. And my dolphin-footed vase from the Goodwill outlet bins, which is apparently worth a bit of money, is filled with red Christmas balls as well. I've taken this little miniature greenhouse solarium, and I've put my little Christmas caroler collection into it. I think they all look cute, singing praises for the newborn king. My very kind mother-in-law sent me this piece. I love it so much. It's not vintage, but I think it looks great in this room. And on the side of this bookshelf, I've hung some stockings that were sent to me by different subscribers. And oops, look, here's a happy Friendsgiving sign with a pumpkin. I'm planning to cover that in wrapping paper, but I just couldn't get it done before I had to film this. I love these stockings so much, and they look similar to a stocking that I have from my mother's childhood, which I'll show you in a moment. It's hanging on my tree. On the coffee table, I've set up a little wooden ornaments village, the centerpiece of which is my German vintage Christmas carousel or Christmas pyramid depicting images of Santa's workshop. I love these Christmas carousels so much. I picked this one up at an estate sale for $4 last year. And around it I've placed other little wooden decorations that I've found in my adventures. My little Noel train has a broken wheel, which I do intend to fix at some point, but I just haven't gotten around to it yet. My Santa Express train does play music and moves back and forth. I did an in-depth video looking at ornaments on my Christmas tree, but I love this vintage Christmas tree so much. We moved it this year from downstairs to up here, and I'm so pleased. I love my bubble lights so much. I got them at an antique store for a steal because the man wasn't sure if they worked. And I love these beaded light covers, which I'd never seen before, and if I ever see more, I will definitely pick them up. But this tree is full of special ornaments from my childhood, from my husband's childhood, as well as ones that have been sent to me or things that I've collected in my adventuring. I love to sit here with a cup of coffee and just stare at this tree. It's one of my favorite things to do. Underneath the tree, I've placed a vintage tree skirt as well as some of my collection of vintage toys. I have a see-and-say and a train and that canister of toys, as well as a pull toy and a rocking horse and an old rubber duck that still squeaks. I've also placed this little case. It has ballet slippers on it. Maybe a little girl would have gotten ballet slippers in it under the Christmas tree. I picked that up at a yard sale one year. Behind the Christmas tree is another bookshelf where I've placed my Tomta collection, which is basically the Swedish equivalent of gnomes. I've also placed one of my 3 ceramic Christmas trees, all of which I've gotten at the Goodwill outlet bins for $1 or less. I love my Tomta collection, and we add 1 Tomta to it each year, although this year, because they're so popular in the US right now, I got 3 from the Dollar Tree. Not only do I love vintage Christmas decorations, but I love the boxes they come in. Here is one stack, and you'll see other stacks and examples of Christmas boxes throughout my decor. And here on the side of this bookshelf, I have hung a little decoration that Chris's grandma made and gave to her daughter, Chris's mom, who then gave it to us. Another area of my home where I've decorated with my vintage Christmas decorations is in this glass cabinet in my dining room. This is my new china hutch of sorts. I got it recently, and I didn't take the things out that are normally in there. I just kind of decorated around them. I have in here many breakable treasures. I thought they might be safer in here. And I also have my vintage Santa head mug collection. I'm actually planning on using a few of these in displays, so these probably won't all be in here for my home tour, but I will have the majority of them in here. That little decoration on the right started with a broken Santa, and I put him in that sled and gave him a Christmas tree and a toy sack, and you can't even tell. I've placed this little Lefton bell into a silver bowl with some plasticky vintage wonderful greenery, and I love this little display. Downstairs in my bedroom, I've made a few vintage displays, the first of which is this bookshelf. This jadeite is always here, but I've mixed in some of my vintage thermoses, which I adore, as well as some bottle brush trees and another mug. I love this display so much. Jadeite and thermoses are some of my favorite things. That thermos on the left is actually red, although it's coming off a little orange on camera. And above that, I have this little faux window display that I picked up off the free pile at a yard sale. And in it, I've placed several treasures, many of which were sent to me. I have my only bottle brush wreath, this miniature Santa with reindeer, a flocked deer, and then this collection of what used to be candy holders and then were intended to be Christmas decorations once you finished the candy. I love these so much. I think someone told me they're from the 40s or 50s. As well as a flocked Santa and reindeer that someone sent to me. I need to put a sign over those outlets, and that will happen before my full home tour. And on my antique secretary desk, I've placed a vintage tin, and then on top of the tin, I've placed these UNESCO elves that I found recently at the Goodwill outlet bins, along with some of my vintage deer, which look like a Christmas display but are actually there all year because I love them so much. This collection of vintage creamers was sent to me recently by someone, and I've painted the shelf for it in a video. On top of that, I've placed a box of vintage lights, but the real star of my bedroom is this corner hutch. I love it so much. On the top shelf are the Annalie dolls that I've collected mostly from the bins. I think one came from a yard sale. The icicle lights are also from the bins, as well as the garland. This tin was given to me by someone who found it at the bins. And then another one of my little vintage block creations, along with another stack of wonderful vintage Christmas decoration boxes that I adore. And I was just told that these are called Just Ducky Bears, and they are made in Laguna, California, which is funny because they're dressed in snow clothing. In the center of the display on the next shelf is another Annalie doll with some other amazing vintage light boxes. I think these are really interesting because the decorations on them are like either cut out and the other one is actually perforated. Did they do that for display? I'm not sure, but I do love these boxes so much. And on the last shelf is another ceramic Christmas tree along with another candelier box. This ceramic Christmas tree came from the bins but was missing a lot of its bulbs. So I bought these on Amazon. They look like birds, and I put them in each hole that was missing a bulb. And I like the mix of the bulbs and the birds. And then I've hung my little cutie 1980s cross-stitched piece on the knob. And this completes the tour of my vintage Christmas decorations. Don't forget to check out the playlist in my description box below to see what all the other creators have done for their Christmas decorations. I will be bringing you a full home tour in a few weeks once I'm done decorating. And until then, thank you so much for watching. Please hit subscribe if you like my videos. It would help me out a great deal, and have a lovely holiday season. Take care.